These files were never meant to be public, but someone reopened them. This is the Dark Bureau. High above the city, behind the polished glass of a modern skyscraper, a passport passes quietly from one hand to another. This silent trade shapes more than an individual's fate. It shifts the boundaries of nations and the meaning of legitimacy. Golden visa programs, once pitched as open doors to prosperity and fresh investment, have blossomed across Europe, the Caribbean, and Asia. Their glossy promise pulls in governments desperate for revenue. Yet beneath the surface, these programs have become a covert passage for power and wealth, recasting the rules of global influence. For those with means or something to hide, the golden visa is insulation. It offers a new start at the cost of an application, a shield against scrutiny. Governments tout jobs created and economic boosts, but the numbers disguise a more complex machine. Private banks, law firms, brokers and fixers all carve out profits along the pipeline, their expertise directed at cloaking assets and intentions alike. Real passports become tradable inventory. The threshold for entry drops yearly. With competition rising, countries often ask few questions and welcome questionable funds, quietly eroding public sovereignty. The origins were pragmatic. Pressed by budget demands, small and struggling economies traded residency or citizenship for investment, believing the returns would build infrastructure and spark growth. The official logic is straightforward. States access capital, investors buy mobility. But a parallel track soon developed, one for elites and shadowy actors, facilitated by lawyers and offshore agents who know how to hide both money and origin. Application paperwork means little. Dossiers are assembled without real checks. Documents are prepared behind closed doors, and approvals flow rapidly for those who pay enough or know the right names. The applicant pool is no longer just entrepreneurs searching for opportunity. Politically exposed persons, sanctioned individuals, and layered corporate entities have learned to exploit every gap. Asset managers, attorneys, and brokers orchestrate intricate structures. Private banks recommend agents or investment schemes specifically for the wealthy. Money funnels through nominee accounts, shell companies, and trusts, each stage designed to frustrate oversight. Governments collect processing fees, but the true windfall is harvested by intermediaries who thrive on ambiguity, gaining commissions and plausible deniability. The policy surface is opportunity. Underneath, it's a global industry for trading identity, immunity, and access. Websites advertise sun-drenched villas and effortless entry into Europe or Caribbean havens, promising clean slates for trusted investors. But the real screening is opaque and manipulated. Many programs base their due diligence on whatever documents are submitted, leaving space for forgeries or tailored paperwork. A $100,000 payment in certain Caribbean states purchases a new legal identity in days. The funds are routed indirectly through agents, with governments seeing just a fraction. Most is siphoned off in brokerage fees. Audits and background assessments are either perfunctory or skipped when insiders push files through. Hundreds of applications clear in a week, paperwork prepared for speed rather than substance. For the influential, the value isn't property or a quiet life. It's the ability to vanish from old records and return free of suspicion. The choreography of money moves is precise and disciplined. The investor might start with a meeting arranged by a private banker or fixer. Application documents are built, but the question of where the investment comes from is rarely pressed. Funds loop through offshore accounts, trusts, or layered holding companies in secrecy jurisdictions. For the right price, professionals design complex ownership structures to ensure the real beneficiary is never revealed. The path appears clean: a property buying form, a government bond purchase, an official fee. Behind the facade, every step is an evasion. Funds bounce through concealed routes, ownership fingers fade, and authorities are left chasing shadows. Of a $2 million investment, only a sliver might actually fund anything public. Most is captured by lawyers and gatekeepers, feeding a lucrative compliance theatre. The scale is astonishing. Between 2018 and 2022, nearly 140,000 golden visas were issued across Europe, drawing over $21 billion in official revenue. Yet the real flow is far larger once intermediaries and dark capital are included. For economies like St. Kitts and Nevis, this income eclipses all others. High-rises rise in once quiet towns, but their apartments sit empty, owned by absentee billionaires. Real estate prices soar, pushing locals out and widening social gaps. Law firms pitch citizenship as mobility packages, not just to escape sanctions, but as a tool for manoeuvring around law enforcement entirely. Oligarchs and blacklisted figures funnel their wealth through property purchases and new passports, then re-enter Europe or the global banking system unimpeded, bypassing the very controls intended to contain them. Each successful application is a shield, a loophole layered inside a loophole, one more ring of armour against inspectors and regulators. As scrutiny mounts, the mask is cracking. Journalists and anti-corruption groups have obtained leaks and documents exposing how agencies mislead auditors or conceal ties to criminals and sanction regimes. Parliamentary inquiries and government reviews in Europe found that hundreds of applications slid through unchecked, even as staff raised alarms. Internal emails tell of a process that favours speed, ignores due diligence, and bends to the interests of connected intermediaries. In the EU, the scandals have provoked calls for bans and blacklists, with the European Commission triggering infringement proceedings. But as one country tightens controls, another emerges with a new repackaged scheme, often in Southeast Asia or the Balkans, or using the label permanent residency to circumvent monitoring. This shadow system moves with the market's ambition, always finding the next lenient venue when restrictions loom. Structural flaws are exposed under pressure. Whistleblowers, civil servants forced to approve dubious files, or agents employed to rewrite applicant histories, step forward, sometimes risking their careers. In Cyprus, hidden cameras revealed lawmakers offering to help criminals circumvent rules. Even as headline programs are closed or tightened, the system mutates. Fixes shift geographies, open shell front companies, or acquire new financial intermediaries. As soon as Malta cracks down, the flow diverts to the Caribbean or Montenegro. Each reform creates fresh loopholes as regulators lag behind adaptive criminal networks. The contest is perpetual. Bureaucracy patches one gap, while industry carves out another. Consequences ripple far beyond state treasuries. In cities from Lisbon to Valletta, luxury apartments owned by absentee investors have displaced local families and choked neighbourhoods, fueling political anger. Law enforcement agencies report that hidden identities aid tax evasion, organised crime, and even foreign intelligence operations. High-profile defendants disappear behind new passports, leaving courtrooms empty and cases unresolved. As the scandals snowball, even legitimate investors suffer from mounting suspicion, and countries embroiled in controversies face blacklists or lose access to critical global platforms. Each time one avenue closes, the trade simply adapts, migrating to new digital platforms or more remote intermediaries, keeping the cycle alive. Some governments, under internal or EU pressure, have shut down the most notorious golden visa schemes or rebuilt them with stricter, though often superficial, controls. The European Commission has warned that abuse threatens collective security. Watchdogs urge transparency, central registries, and strict enforcement, but oversight remains easily outpaced by the market. Compliance often boils down to paperwork, not real diligence. Even as new anti-money laundering rules are adopted, meaningful enforcement, especially across national borders, remains elusive. Beneath all the legal wrangling, local anger, and international posturing, the trade continues. When one country retreats, another simply alters its rules or moves operations offshore, rebranding citizenship as residency for investment. The hunger for untraceable, portable legitimacy only grows. Passports become a tool of disappearance and transformation, available to those who can pay. What began as a platform for growth has become a market for renaming, erasing, and redeploying power on a global chessboard. The system now outpaces the law. For many, borders have faded, replaced by the limits of money, know-how, and influence. Each workaround is less a flaw than a new currency, fueling an expanding network beyond the reach of traditional authority. Behind every transaction, a passport, a real estate deed, a wire transfer, there is a world reshaped. Borders bend, oversight buckles, and influence is redrawn through back channels. The real item for sale is not property or travel, but the assurance to vanish and return at will, rearmed with a new identity. For most, the message is clear. Buying legitimacy and secrecy in this marketplace isn't ending. It's evolving into the next stage.